President Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert Bobi Wine ky'oyagaliza embazzi ky'obyaga asudde engeri amaanyi ga propaganda mu kusuula gavumenti ya General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni kati nno mawulire g'okuba nti Kabaka Ronald Muwenda Mutebi yabuziddwawo General Museveni ali ku bunkenke ebigambo byamuzitoyeeko dda Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert Bobi Wine kye yasuubiza kati we tuli General Museveni akiwulira ekintu kimwokya kaso tulabe akatambi kano tuketegereze bulungi tukagoberere bulungi ogenda kumanya embaga.
For the purpose of those students that have joined us, Teacher Katie eloquently taught us about critical thinking. Keyword, critical thinking in terms of propaganda. And Teacher Katie taught us about propaganda is to a democracy what Blue Gen is, a totalitarian state. And she so eloquently told us truth considers intention. Truth includes circumstances. Truth changes when new facts come into play. She dug deeper by teaching us that truth is subjective, but also truth considers objective. And then she taught us that democracy is driven by people and what they want for themselves, but propaganda leads people by the nose to the conclusion that the propagandist wants. In other words, Teacher Kate taught us that propaganda is worse, way worse, because those who are suspectable are told they have no one to blame but themselves. They have no place to put their anger and sorrow. And then she continued giving us these prime examples of Joseph Goebbels, the chief propagandist of Hitler. Propaganda works best when those who are being manipulated in their mind are confident that they're acting on their own free will. Students, that's very key. Joseph Goebbels' audience back in Germany were so manipulated to the thinking that they're acting on their own free will and that everything is good. The propagand's purpose is to make one set of people forget that certain other sets of people are human. But above all, students, listen with me for a moment here. Teacher Katie narrates to us in a visible evidence that how can we tell false propaganda versus real news, or it's just propaganda? Number one, test the waters. Does it sound correct? Is it even possible? Use your gut. If it sounds shocking or too good to be true, this is your gut telling you to get on the other side of the story. I repeat, this is very critical to my journalistic students from Africa that are listening in. You go out in search of news. You go out and broadcast news. But I want you, students, today to use critical thinking in your day-to-day lives as you purify, as you add value to your profession of a journalism. How did you get the information? Is it from a place that is getting true facts? Investigate. Comrades, students, I want you to investigate. Even if you trust your sources, good information can withstand some scrutiny. Never make decisions based on one source. You never know the motivations of the person writing it. You never know. And so, comrades, knowledge, remember what you have learned in the past that has proven to be true. Does the information fit? Does the information fit the narrative? Is it true? And so, comrades, in addition to what Teacher Katie has taught us, how does misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, propaganda, and fake news impact our social evolution of people power? A Ugandan study. May I invite you to walk with me on this journey? It's important to understand the differences between the misinformation, the disinformation, the malinformation, and the fake news, all of which impact our evolution. And so, students, what does it require? It requires media literacy and critical thinking. That's why many of my journalistic students that are US-based and others, I always invite them to our journalistic classes and conferences. One of my greatest friends of all time, I've invited him to come on our campus to participate in a journalistic class. Why? So that he can use his critical thinking, so that he can get news that are balanced and fair, so that he can evaluate and learn his sources. Check your credentials and exercise judgment while taking in news and information you get. You know that misinformation can undermine social movement like our people power. It requires you to think, to identify and combating this information, ladies and gentlemen, is critical. Students, what is misinformation? Misinformation refers to false, keyword, false or inaccurate information that is unintentionally spread to cause chaos. It jokes people up. It makes their metabolism boil. However, it occurs due to mistakes, misrepresentations, or lack of awareness. Inaccurate photo captions, incorrect dates, incorrect statistics, incorrect translations, incorrect satire. Really? Come on, comrades. Misrepresentation, false propaganda affects, and it can inadvertently weaken our social movement by diluting their message. When a well-intentioned individuals unknowingly share false information, it can undermine the credibility of the movement. What is disinformation? Come on, students. Look in the camera and look at me. Disinformation is the deliberately false or misleading information that spreads with the intent to deceive, keyword, deceive, to manipulate. It is often used as a tool for propaganda. Fabricated, manipulated audio, visuals, content that is intentional to create conspiracy theories or rumors that spreads like wildfire. That is false, so much false that it even requires a kindergarten kid in Beverly Hills Kindergarten School to say, really? Dad, did that happen? And so, students, disinformation affects social movements. Disinformation poses a significant threat. When intentionally spreads, it can distort narratives, create confusion, and erodes the trust within social movements and adversaries. So, for you journalistic students that have tuned in, and for all our students that have walked with us through this journey, I'm teaching you today that malinformation involves the deliberate publication, keyword, publication of private information for personal or corporate gain rather than public interest. Revealing private details, ravage pornography, or altering context, date, or time of genuine content. In other words, it affects and it can harm individuals within social movements by selectively revealing sensitive information. Adversaries can tarnish reputations and weaken collective resolve. Allow me to go deeper with what we call fake news. What is fake news? Fake news, colleagues, it comprises of fabricated or highly biased stories presented, keyword presented as a legitimate news, as if you are the author. It lacks credible sources and aims to mislead people. Sensational headliners, clickbaits, articles, or intentionally misleading narratives. That affects our people power revolution, and it can distort narratives, create divisions, undermine social evolution. With false stories to gain attraction, they divert attention from genuine issues. Okay? So, students who are listening to me this morning, I want you to be mature in reasoning and have a critical thinking and debate and argue within yourself. How does this happen? How can it be? Okay? And so, students, allow me to walk with me in my personal story. I, your professor talking to you this morning, I have once been a victim of false misinformation, false propaganda, fake misinformation and disinformation. 7 years ago, a renowned propagandist made an audio, made a video with a big connotation. Security alert, ladies and gentlemen, and to you all my listeners. Share the video, thumbs up video, thumbs up video. Let each one call one, let each one call another. That was the caption. Students, this is how we started. There is a gentleman from the United States. He's the United States military and with the rank of a captain. He is training students. Avoid and stay away from that military captain, because he is working hand in hand with the dictator and is a state agent. And that was the end of the caption. And so, because, you know, people know me, so one of my friends who works at the embassy in where that propagandist lives calls me up and says, hey, Captain, there is an audio running around telling us that you're working with the dictator of in your mother country. And he laughed and says, really? Students, comrades, number one, as a military personnel, we are bound and swear and make an oath to fight and defend for the interests of the United States. Number two, how in anyone's mind and thinking capacity can I ever sit and dine with the devil? Number two. Number three, how in the world can such a misinformation play in the hands and favor of those that are literally smart, clever, and understand the true facts of the matter? And so, Teacher Kerry, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I just
Please,
wanted
go
to
ahead.
touch on how people who are rational and reasonable can still believe things like that, and why. Because, my lovely friends, our brains are marvelous things. They do incredible stuff, but they love gossip. They love believing that people we admire are fallen from grace. They love something juicy and, oh my gosh, see, they're not perfect. They love it. And it's not necessarily that we're bad people or that we're trying to be, looking for the worst in other people. But it feels good to hear those stories sometimes. So don't feel bad if you believe it, but do feel bad if you don't figure it out. If you don't, I mean, just look at our lovely Professor Sinjunja. There's no way he's sitting across the table from a dictator. That's just not going to happen. So use your minds. Understand that it's okay to feel that way because everybody's brain does it to a point. But don't let that make the decisions for you. People want to believe bad things about other people. Not sure why, but it's easier to believe bad things than it is to believe good things. And that, I think it has something to do with you get let down when you believe good things about other people. And when you believe bad things about other people, you're safe because you've already been let down. So when you hear something, especially about somebody who it seems completely out of character, think before you do anything like forwarding that. I'm sorry, David, I haven't heard that story before, and it kind of so
I
I'm
know,
sorry for the
and it's interesting that it's actually the first time to share it to my students because back then I didn't even want to give it more oxygen because it was utterly false. But it goes back to the topic of our lecture today about misinformation, malinformation, fake news that, if not checked, it can lead to really inaccurate information that intentionally spreads to damage one's reputation, to blackmail, it's a character assassination that has no footing in our movement. And
correct, which
so,
is why it's important to always challenge those things. Make sure it's out there. Make sure people know that you're like, no, this is incorrect. This is what's really happening. You need to be sure you're out there and doing that. But that does not mean that we are wrestling with a pig. We don't fight. Fighting is useless when it comes to social media. It's just fire, it's just oxygen. And the worst thing in the fight that could come out of it is what's going to come out of it. Correct, incorrect statements, but don't fight.
correct. Thank you. And so, students, in conclusion of this, my takeaway back then was, okay, my learning experience from that is trust but verify. Where is the source from? Who is the author? I would have appreciated the propagandist had he given me a call. Hey, Captain Sejinja, on June 13th, 1993, you went to Entebbe State Lodge and you dined with a dictator. Here's a photograph. Is this true or is it false? Can I release it? So I just call the person, call the journalist. And so, students, from a practical perspective, use your judgment carefully and get to know and to understand where it's coming from. And then also look at that. Second example, a girl named Stella from Pennsylvania calls me one day, 4 years ago, says, Professor, guess what? President Bobi Wine has been given 7 sacks of money. They were brought by state agents. The vehicles drove right past by into his gate. That is the money. So he's a sellout. He has sold the revolution. And I'm like, Stella, did you get your medicine this morning? Do you check in with your doctor? No. Captain, listen out to me. And I said, I'm listening. Go ahead. So, 5 black SUVs drove past by, and the money was handed in to President Bobi Wine. And I'm like, okay, Stella, where is the source? Who gave you that information? Is that the reason why you called me? Oh, no, no, I wanted to make you aware. I said, okay, anything else? No, that's what I wanted to tell you. And from now on, I'm leaving the revolution. And I said, Stella, the revolution will do good without you. So no, but you're becoming angry. So the exchange went on. But I said, Stella, I do not like that negativity. And if you're talking false misrepresentation with whatever you outsourced your news, good to you. Go drink yourself out. Have a good day. I'm blocking you out. Thank you. But again, it goes back to tell you one spread information that Stella had told me, had I also gone and share it and share it and share it, and then I used my judgment and I said, this is a no-brainer. It doesn't, it doesn't match the content, the stories. And so going back to our critical thinking and propaganda, colleagues, comrades, leaders of our revolution, may I invite you to always, if you don't know the truth of it, let it stop in your inbox. Let me bring you closer to home. Just this last week, a list of our people power NUP leaders in Canada went out in a public social media. It had about 100 leaders, and somebody sent it to me, and it was following with a video. One propagandist from Uganda went and knocked himself out, and I don't know if he wanted how many likes from YouTube, whatever, but it was all misinformation. It was all false information. It was all propaganda. It was fake news, and it wasn't holding water. But think about how many people that list went to. Now, many of you know, comrades, that Canada, I was one of the original people power leaders that had Canada as part of my jurisdiction until I told President to have Canada its own independence for our revolutionists. And so Canada and Toronto is so near and dear to me, and anything that happens to our leadership there is so pure and so raw. And so we stopped that. It was false. We didn't even need to add in more oxygen to its intended purposes, because the author is false, is illiterate, is however you can call him. So, but I'm relating to you all these stories and all these live examples so you know next time when it comes, you know how to critique it. You know how to use your judgment. And so I also am using this opportunity to invite all journalists and all propaganda and all bloggers out there, please don't misinform your audience. Tell them what's true, what is factual. Bring them to a lesson of understanding. Take them on a journey of pure and fair and balanced information. If it's for the sake of having them more likes or tumbles of video, whatever, but do it in all honesty and accountability, because people's lives are at stake. Nobody wants to. Go ahead, Katie.
Sorry, I like this better than the hand. But I just wanted to add to your pleads to our to the people who bring information to the people. You must understand that you are the front line. You are the difference between people following truth and people following propaganda. Your integrity is the most important part of your job. Integrity being your ability to be able to decipher truth from untruth. And I'm using that language for a reason, because truth's opposite isn't a lie. Truth's opposite is untruth. Because truth has so many facets, because it is subjective, because it is about the people who are observing, because it has so many other facets, the opposite of truth is untruth. Lies are specific and easy to find. Untruth is hard to find. So please, our lovely journalists, you are vital to the existence of democracy. You picked a career that not only is going to be incredibly difficult, I mean, crazy difficult, but it is the single most important part of democracy. That filter for which we get information, you're that filter. Always verify. Always have a good intention. Have the intention of information, informing, not the intention of coloring bias, not the intention of moving anything, only to inform. And I just want to say thank you so much for being journalists, because that would be a job that I would really have a hard time with, because I do have a bit of a bias towards towards well, certain things, and I'm not sure if I could separate it the way you do. So thank you. Continue to fight to be that front line. Continue to move things forward, and thanks again.
Thank you so much, Katie. So in closing, students, activists, comrades, foot soldiers, our bloggers, our leaders, you play a critical role in countering the spread of misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, and propaganda and fake news. Countering misinformation, colleagues and students, it requires three things: vigilance, number one; two, collaboration, number two, and a commitment to truth. Students, let there be vigilance, let there be collaboration, let there be commitment to truth. By implementing these strategies, activists can contribute to a more informed and resilient society. Any information that's not true, don't take it. I would have gotten info from Kensington Palace with anything that had to do with our kingdom. We have sources that give us raw and critical information with the welfare of our king, of our kingdom, who is at play, what is happening. And so may I invite you to please don't go out, call and ask and find out from the person you trust to tell you what is true. Rely on that reliability and commitment. In other words, may I repeat what I told you? You and everyone listening to me this morning and to Teacher Katie, you have to counter the spread of misinformation by being vigilant and standing for truth, by collaboration and finding out what is factual, and a commitment to telling the truth. By implementing these strategies, you as people power revolution activists and students from our American leadership class and all our guests and visitors, you contribute to a more informed, keyword, you contribute your knowledge and power and strength and fair and actual balance to an informed and resilient society of our country. But guess what? The dictator also has his own propaganda out there. He puts out these traps and says, let us spin the cheap politics and let the society run with that, and let everyone run with that. And they run with that, they fight each other, and they propagate everything. And before you know it, we have spent a whole entire 1 week of strategizing, and we have been distracted from the prize to entangle ourselves within that chaos. Really? serious? We are the ones people are waiting for. Why are we smear campaign within our own leaders and communities and our own foot soldiers that are doing the best? Who are you working for? Why are you the architect of this misinformation that is not building, it's not adding value? And so, students, in closing, my assignment for you today is, how can activists, write this down as our assignment, how can activists counter misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, propaganda, and fake news as related to Uganda? So that's going to be your assignment for us for this week. I also congratulate those students that are continuing to write in those assignments and are writing their essay. And then don't forget to write your email page analysis to americanleadership94@gmail.com. And students, comrades, colleagues, foot soldiers, I really thank you so much. And we really are very, very thankful for our distinguished teacher, our teacher, Ketelawi, for this wonderful critical thinking of our students. And, encouraged, are more strengthened. As you empower us, we have empowered our students to feed on this table of brotherly love and friendship, of critical thinking, how to counter false information, how to take out the junk and chunk out of our revolution, out of our people power. And of course, we understand that our leaders ought to be given due diligence for the hard work. But sometimes we get in the person of vandenas that come in and say, hey, do a smear campaign, do a blackmail, make a false critique about this one. But when it's really a person of vandena that was one-on-one, instead of sorting it out, one's anger matriculates up into a social media to make his day. So in closing, once again, I invite you to be critical thinkers, to counter misinformation with vigilance. 3, to look for the source. 4, call out for those you trust to verify that yes, it's true, or no, it's false. I turn the time over to teacher Katie for your first remarks, and then I'll turn the time over to open questions and comments. Also, our American leadership class next session is coming up in September. Please reach out for information how to register. And then for our journalistic students, please reach out as well. We will be having our professor of journalism teach some of you this coming September about fair and balanced information as you outsource it. Our case study for Uganda and the challenges that you face. Teacher Katie, over to you, and then you turn the time over to Dorcas for question, comments, and answers, and take it from there.
Thank you so much, David. I really appreciate you putting your 2 cents in all of this, as I've had far less experience as you have when it comes to Ugandans' problems with misinformation. It's been enriching, and I'm grateful for you every day. So I'm so glad that I could be here to speak to you about these things. I hope that above all, you've again been reminded of the humanity of people. The key to propaganda is making other people seem inhuman. My goal forever, and has always been, to remind people of their humanity. This should always be the goal when we are putting forth information or spreading information. If we are dehumanizing, we are no longer revolutionaries. We are one of them. We do not dehumanize. It doesn't matter what a monster somebody is, and there are monsters in the world. If we begin to decide that the people who follow that monster are monsters themselves, we become those we hate. This isn't okay. It's never okay to treat another human being as a means to an end or as something less than a human. Yes, the people that we are fighting against, they're going to do it all the time. They're going to get to torture people. They're going to get to dehumanize. They're going to get to spread propaganda. They get to do the easy things. It's easy to do that stuff and gain control. As revolutionaries, we must do the hard thing. Like John F. Kennedy says, we do not do hard things. We do not do the right thing because it's easy. We do the right thing because it's hard. That's the difference. That's what makes our revolution triumphant. And that's how we are going to win the day. So, my lovely friends, my lovely brothers and sisters, I hope that you leave feeling enriched and excited for the adventure we have ahead of us, and knowing that you have allies and people who love you, who will support as best as they can. As always, you have you're in my thoughts, you're in my heart, and I love you. With that, Dorcas, if you want to go ahead and take control, I can't wait to see you next time.
Thank you so much, Teacher Katie. It's 8:30 in the morning here in our Utah time, 7:30 in California, Los Angeles, and then 12 or 10 back east. We are opening it up for questions, comments. Make that quick and to the point. Dorcas, you want to be in charge of the questionnaire and answers, please. Go ahead and take it over.
Comrade Ismail, are there hands? Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Teacher Katie, for that lecture. Yes, Comrade Ismail, please.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. I was speaking to a muted mic. Yes, there is no question. There is no raised hands at the minute. But if you could share the homework with us, please, and then I'll be looking for the raised hands. Thank you.
Yes, currently this is the previous homework, and we should be adding the latest question today. Today's question, I'll add that on.
All right, thank you very much. That means if there are no questions, Teacher Katie, you must have done a wonderful job in giving us a wonderful lecture.
Actually, we do have one. Yeah, we have a raised hand. Sorry, Professor. We have Mimi. She's got her hand raised.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Teacher Katie and Professor, about this topic. This is a very important topic, comrades, because we always in Uganda, we are faced with fake news, misinformation, propaganda. These things are ruining the struggle or the social movement. But one thing that I just wanted to point out that Teacher Katie brought up is the story about the frog and the pot. And that is the way many times we are tricked into being diverted from our main cause into something whereby the junta places us in a pot and slowly he turns up the heat, like these things. And some of the heat things are like, for example, we are doing wealth creation. So they put us in that pot and we think, and then he starts turning up these things. So those things look like they are legitimate things that we have to do, or he's helping the citizens to become, better themselves, or let's take your children to. I just related that story to what Teacher Katie said about the frog, putting us in that pot and slowly turning up that heat. And this is what he does all the time, putting out those fake newses, the Kabaka is this and the other, whatever. And then we start hitting, we start hitting our own selves instead of hitting the person who is really holding out the Kabaka. We start hitting the Prime Minister of Uganda. We start hitting your foot soldier, you're this, you're that. So we have to really think critically. First of all, we have to think, like Teacher Katie said. So all that acronym of think T, HIN, we have to do all those before even we start sharing. We are very good at sharing. As soon as something comes, when it comes to meeting in sessions like this, we don't want to share anything. But when they send out that, we are the first people to share it, the whole world, us who are in the revolution, and yet we are spreading fake news, all this, and that plays well for the junta himself. So I really thank you, Teacher Katie, and I hope we can connect to these things we are learning with what is actually happening to us in Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments, Teacher Mimi. It's always lovely to hear your thoughts on things. You're such a valuable member of our team, and I'm so grateful you're in my life. I hope everybody listened to what she had to say and took into account taking the things we're learning and applying them to the situation that we're in. The things we are learning generally can be said by anyone, anywhere. They're very universal. But the key is to take that information and apply it to yourself. So I'm hoping that works. I do love the frog in the pot story. That's one of my favorites. It makes it very clear of how propaganda does function. All right, can we hear from Peter? Peter, your hand
Yes,
is up.
Comrade Peter, unmute and speak to us.
Good evening, members of the class. I'm Peter Mugasa Turugiransoni. I am from Bunyangavu in Western Uganda, in Torres region, but I live and work in Mombasa, Kenya. I am glad to be part of this class, and especially the teaching of today, though I joined a bit late. I want to state the following, that majority of Ugandans are susceptible to fake information. And I know and I believe it has been deliberate by the dictator Museveni, that most Ugandans, and even those you think are knowledgeable, are just very ignorant about true or true information. Something he will say and everyone will believe, whether true or false. Our people in Uganda have been differentiated so much that they don't think, and they don't think critically. So as a people in the struggle, or as revolutionaries, we have a long way to go to teach our people, to have them understand the information that is actually desirable. Otherwise, I thank the teacher, I thank you, Professor, for the information, and we have to triple our effort in teaching the people, especially the people in the local communities, so that they really understand. They know how to dissect information to ascertain the truth and facts. Otherwise, myself and on a personal level, I'm very afraid that we have a long way to go to educate the people and to change their mindset. The maintenance diverted so much, and we have a long way to go. That's what I would say. Otherwise, thank you so much, and I'm glad I've been part of this platform.
Peter, thank you so much for your comments. And you're right, we have a long way to go. And the end is probably not in the near future. Fighting misinformation and propaganda is kind of something we are going to have to do forever. So let's not think about it as linear. Let's not think about it as we have a long way to go. Let's think about it as we've learned this much to fight it. We know how to do this much to fight it. We are moving forward. And even though there may not be an end in sight, it's not about the end. It's about and what we can do today. As for your remarks about Ugandans being susceptible to misinformation, It's not just Ugandans. Many people do. But the big part of why people are so eager to pay attention to stories that are shocking or scary, it's because they have very little hope. They've been let down so many times. They've kicked at the pricks, meaning that they've pushed against the bad people or kicking against the spines so often and been so disappointed that now they just look for the disappointment first. They look for the other shoe to drop first. They look for bags of money going into Bobby Wine's house and just like, oh, see, I knew it was too good to be true. It's over. What we need to do to help, the best thing we can do, probably the most effective tool we have against misinformation, is hope. We need to spread hope. We need to light that fire. Let people know, our people, not just Ugandans, know that there's a reason. There's a reason to fight. And it's not hopeless. It's never hopeless. And it is those people in power who are putting out the propaganda that says it is, or that says that everybody's a liar, that says that everybody's going to let you down. Those are the people who are trying to diminish us. And we are here to elevate. We are here to bring hope. We are here so that our brothers and sisters can find a light at the end of the tunnel. And when that hope is there, they will not be interested in those shocking stories because they have hope. They can see a title that is horrible about a wonderful captain in the US and go, that sounds a little off to me, and move on, not spreading it or anything. Hope is our greatest ally. So to that end, to fight misinformation, go to your social media and start spreading hope. That's our best tool. Start giving people a reason to hope. Give people reasons to trust you. And we're going to get there. And even if it's a forever struggle, it's going to be a wonderful struggle. It's going to be marvelous. And it will continue to be marvelous as we continue to spread that hope. Peter, thank you for your comments. As always, I appreciate you. All right, Dorcas, I think that's it for me for today. If you wouldn't mind closing us out. And thank you. You've been wonderful.
Thank you so much, Katie. Before Dorcas closes us out, I thank you very much. And I hope our students have really undertaken the time to learn, because, you know, we have YouTube headquarters down in California, Los Angeles, and it's a phone call away to say, hey, this is false YouTube video, take it down, or false information. Dictate is trying to do this, and we've got the power and the capacity to do that, or whatever audio that's circulating to harm our revolutionaries and our foot soldiers out. But let us be proactive. Let us ask. Let us reach out and call those in the know-how, those that you can trust. Say, hey, I heard about this. Do you think this holds water really or no? And if you feel within, on a scale of 1 to 100, and you are in between 40 to 30, it's probably, you know, it isn't worth your time. So, down the drain. Don't even, you can't even block that punk who sent you the info audio. You don't need such a person. But in closing, I want to thank our executive board for the for these programs. Dee and your executive board members, we thank you very much for this opportunity you're giving us. Our colleagues, we have 3 more weeks to go before it comes to the end of our class program of the academy, but we know that Saturday we're gonna still be here as always. In closing, comrades, students, and all our guests, 1, do not ask what the revolution can do for you. I repeat, do not ask what the revolution can do for you. Ask what you can do for the revolution by playing your role, by adding a brick to brick by being accountable to those that you are in charge of jurisdiction and give a report. If you don't understand, if you see something, say something, but make it to the very best you can. And in the end, you'll be victorious. And you look back and say, once we stood, and here we come, and it would have come to pass. We would have stood the test of time, and we would have won the victor's prize. Thank you so much. Happy weekend. Over to you, D. I salute. Thanks very much, Katie,
Professor,
and all our teachers.
Professor, before you go, we have one hand. Can I take it?
Please.
So we've got Comrade James Yamugenyi. Please unmute and speak to us.
Oh, good morning, because it's morning in the US in my place. I was at hospital, I just came back, and the doctors was pushing me in. I'm like, doctors, I'm at work, but I finally signed out. Yes, misinformation. I think I made a tweet, and the tweet was, become the center of communication. And when you become a center of communication, make sure you are not misinforming the world. If you see information that comes from home, it's very toxic information. But counter that toxic information with the truth. About 3 weeks ago, you remember I was accused by people from home. Of course, they are from home, they're in America here. They made a tweet to the hospital and attached the hospital that I cheat the clock. I have just posted information from the hospital right now. If you see, I'm rated amongst the top most performers in the hospital. So you counter misinformation by spreading the truth. I have just seen something on a wedding of I think a marriage or wedding of one of our frontliners or fighters in Uganda, Nyanzi. And I have tweeted. I asked the person who tweeted that, what is your contribution? How much did you contribute to say our money is wasted on marriages? I asked the person, how much did you contribute? And I cut a request from Trump to me and attached it saying, he's asking, I'm saying, if you contribute, then you can hold people accountable. If you contribute, then you can account for what you have contributed. Remember, we have just celebrated Mama Mbabazi's marriage. Why is this one important to you? So become a center of communication, but read, get informed yourself, because it takes a lot to spread the truth. I just wanted to say that. Thank you, the teachers. Thank you, the audience. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade. Comrade Reggie. I think I've lost Comrade Reggie. Back to you, Dorcas.
Yes, Reggie, you're unmuted. Please, if you can hurry and submit.
No, Dorcas, maybe I'll just come back later. Mine is it's not a question, it's not about the session. So if there is any else you can take, just close me out and I'll come back.
With this, I would like to say thank you to the American Leadership class for the lectures. Thank you so much, Teacher Katie, Professor David, and the team. Thank you so much. Yes, Ismail, do you want to have a minute before Professor goes? Thank you.
I just wanted to thank them as well. We've taken a lot of notes. I'm also going to sit down this evening and I'll try to tackle that question which was being asked. Yes, and I'll see you again. Hopefully you will be here next week for the next session. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Professor and Katie. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a good weekend, professors. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We are honored. Yes, comrades, the session goes on a few more minutes before we close. Tads, you have your hand up. If you can unmute and speak to us. What's on your mind?
Greetings, comrades. Really, I want to take this opportunity to thank Professor and for the deliberation you have done. Actually, this is my first time being here. I am part of the team actually, which is being spread on the internet. The part of the team from Canada, and it's really very insane that they just picked a list of the people who attended a peaceful demonstration against the NRM junta government in Ottawa. They are using that to spread propaganda and rumors. But as it has been taught here that we need to use correct information to counter the propaganda. Actually, we are coming up with a document about the person who issued this. And sometimes when you look at people who are spreading this propaganda, actually, they have a lot of back. I don't know how to tell me, but there's a lot of information on them which we don't want to disclose out to the community or to the people, because it will affect their life and their family. But sometimes we are forced to do that, and I think that's what we are going to be doing. So as much as you engage in propaganda, actually you have to look behind and see what you're carrying on your back. What do you have behind you? Sometimes you may start fire, which you may end up not being able to put out. So this is a very good lesson, actually. And I think I've picked a lot from this. I've learned a lot from this, which will be helpful in my life, and as I pursue this struggle, as we push on this struggle. Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor, and everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade Tad. I'll now yield the mic to Comrade Reggie. He will close us off, and then we'll sing the Ngule at the end in English, and then we'll close. Thank you.
We're leaving so early today. Usually leave about 30 minutes after.
Yeah, people want to go to the beach, apparently.
It's a Saturday. People have things to do. Okay. So usually I come in on a Christian note. And yes, I think today's class in a way correlates with what I want to talk about. And again, in the area of misinformation and propaganda, Uganda is majorly Christian, or at least Christians. And this is, I'm talking about in the area of taxes. Taxes started in the Bible. God instituted taxes. But when God instituted taxes during Moses' time, during the law, enaction of the law, he made taxes in such a way that although the taxes were paid to the church, it was a religious state. Taxes were paid to take care of the Levites, take care of the temple, take care of the priests and the teachers. But this is how God made taxes if you read the Bible. Those who had wealth had a little bigger thing to bring, to sacrifice and bring. If you had cows, you had to, for example, bring the firstborn cow, and it had no defects to it. But those who did not have money and were poor would bring a pigeon. You'd get a pigeon which had no defects, and it's the one that you'd give. Because it was a religious state, it was a religious stating, it was a religious administration. But it was a government just like Museveni's government. Museveni's government doesn't care. Today they say, if you, for example, you cultivate maize, if you're able to get a sack of maize, you measure it and it's a sack of maize, you're going to pay 18%. But let's be honest, how many Ugandans who are depending on agriculture, these poor state people, hand to mouth, who can dig and make a sack of maize, can pay 18% in terms of cash. Let's be realistic. That is a distortion of tax according to the Bible. Let's go straight to Jesus getting angry in the temple. One of the reasons Jesus lost his temper was because of distortion. So the kingdom of Judah had been divided into two. There was Ephraim and Judah. And the Ephraimites used folk all the way to come to the temple to be able to pay this tax and worship God and be blessed, so that the religious administration is maintained. So the religious administration in the temple started instituting processes that would make it difficult for these people to pay taxes to the temple according to the way it had been created by God, instituted by God. If they came with a bull, they would find a small defect of that bull and they say, no, we don't want this one. You come and buy out. And then they would make theirs very expensive. They would put the 18% on theirs, so that it became so difficult. So they got all kinds of businesses. They became greedy, just like Museveni's government. And then went to the temple had been neglected. There were no services. They did not have anywhere to put the mats to pray. These are the services they had to put. It's the same thing with Museveni's government. Today, Museveni doesn't care if you're poor, if rich, as long as you're able to use the land. If you dig your own water in your land and you harvest in a tank, you're going to pay taxes. So what are we dealing with? Jesus got so angry, he lost his temper and turned all the tables. That is the reason it was taxes. So Ugandans, stand up and refuse this, because it's an economic war against Ugandans by descent. Foreigners are exempt from taxes. They are given free land to invest. They are even given money. So for the Christian, on a Christian point of view, here you are about the Bible. Thank you so much. So you sure you want me to close, or there's a hand you want to take?
We want you to close.
We close it out?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Thank you
Is
so
everybody
much.
unmute?
Thank you.
Yes, unmute.
Yes, everyone should have unmuted. Thank you so much, everybody. We speak during the week, every month.
bwe bityo embeera yaffe bweri, Uganda yaffe bweri, era nga tukyalina okulwanira ddala olugendo lwe tulina okulwana lunene, tulina okutambula lunene okulaba nga tulutuusa, nga tuluggusa, tusobole okweyagalira mu nsi yaffe, tweyagalire mu Uganda yaffe, tuteekewo ensi eketali oba erabirira buli muntu. Olwaleero aliwo, anaabaawo enkya n'alibaawo ng'emulabirira nga asobola okufuna omulimu nga tabuuziddwa nti oyo mwana waani, era ng'emirimu weegiri, ate nga Uganda yaffe ngagga, ng'oyinza okuva ewuwo nga tolinamu kasente, naye nga bw'ofuluma bw'oti olabirawo obugagga bw'ensi, ng'enguudo zinyirira, ng'amalwaliro malamu, ng'amasomero malamu, wamma nga buli kimu kitambula bulungi. Eyo Uganda gye twagala eberenga amawanga amalala agafa ku bantu baago, amawanga amalala agafa ku kitiibwa ky'ensi zaago, ne wana abakulembeze baffe beeyagaliza bokka babba bateeka mu nsawo zaabwe, mpozi n'okugenda okusiga mu mawanga amalala beetegeka olunaku lwe balidduka, lwe balibula. Naye tulina okulwana okulanga ensi obuyinza budda mu ngalo zaffe tujja okweyagala. Kale mbaagala nnyo mwenna abaliko, mwebali kubaako, Omukama Katonda gwe nsaba abankuumire, tujja kuba tuddamu batayi mweraba.